Look, our 20s, time of exploration, time of having fun. It's never related with the time of financial knowledge, time of making the right decisions. But here's the thing, boys. If you start early, the earlier you start with being smart with your money, the richer or the higher chance of being rich you have later on in the game. Today, boys, I'm going to show you 7 money mistakes you want to avoid in your 20s that all your friends are probably doing. Let's hop into this. Number 1, not having multiple sources of revenue. See, a 9 to 5, it's a great thing. It's secure. It's safe. You're always going to get that check every week or every 2 weeks. That's great. But like any smart person, don't put all your eggs in one basket. You have to start thinking outside the box of how you can produce other sources of revenue. It could be a rental property, the stock market, side hustles. There are so many ways to make an extra grand or even $5,000 a month, especially online nowadays. There's so many different ways you can make money. If you're not looking for other sources of revenue or multiple sources of revenue, you're leaving a lot on the table. Number 2, debt can be a good thing. See, I don't want you to be scared of debt. I want you to learn how to use debt. Every rich person uses debt. Let me give you a great example. Let's say you've worked and you've managed to save up $20,000, enough to buy a car. Now, what your parents or what your gut would tell you, just buy the car cash. That way you have no payments, no debt to anybody, and you get to have a car basically without it, free, no payments, right? Well, this is where debt comes into play. Let's say you were to buy this car. Look at what happens. Let's say you grabbed your $20K that you had cash and you dumped it on a car. See, a car is a depreciating asset, which means over the years, that car's value is going to depreciate. So you gave them the $20K and now your asset is the car that's losing value over time. What if instead of putting the $20,000 in the car, you got a $20,000 loan? The bank lends you the loan at 3%, which means you have to pay 3% annually on that loan, which is way more expensive than the car. However, now you still keep your $20,000 in cash, right? And you grab that $20,000 and invest it in the stock market. So now let's say you're able to get, let's say, 10% returns in the stock market or in some sort of mutual fund. Now your $20,000 is going up in value by 10% a year. The loan, you own 3%, so net you're making 7% profit every year, or you're appreciating your money by 7% versus dumping $20,000 on an asset that's just losing value over time. Boys, debt can be a good thing. The debt that's not a good thing is credit card debt. See, that is crippling debt. Credit card debt, you'll pay like 20% interest a year on. See, that's where our sponsor Upstart comes in. Upstart's great for young guys, see, because Upstart's using artificial intelligence loans so you can pay off that crippling debt. If you have $20,000 in credit card debt, first of all, I feel for you. Second of all, you are wasting your money. With whether you're paying off credit cards, funding personal expenses, or paying off high interest debt, Upstart is great, and 500,000 other people are using it for a reason. Upstart knows that you are more than just a credit score, and it's expanding its access to affordable credit. And unlike other lenders that just look at your credit score, Upstart looks at your income and finds smarter rates for your loan. With a 5-minute online rate check, you can see what your rate would be for loans anywhere from $1,000 to $50,000. And the crazy part, you can receive those funds just 1 business day after accepting your loan. Find out how Upstart can lower your monthly payments today by going to upstart.com/TMF. That's upstart.com/TMF. You can click the link down below as well. If you click that link, obviously they'll know we sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. So, if you guys want to check it out, click that link down below. The third mistake most young guys are making is that they're not tracking their expenses. If you ever wonder or look at your bank account a week later and wonder how the hell your paycheck just went to zero, I guarantee you it's because you're not tracking your personal expenses. It is crazy to think about that most of us, for young guys on average, 51% of our income goes to food. Just so you know, 51% that you could have saved if you just cooked at home, not to mention it's actually healthier for you. So you need to start now to see where your money is actually going and where you're losing it. And there's great apps that you can download. They're free. You can look them up yourself, where you can download them, and they're going to track every single expense you make. That way at the end of the month, you can see by percentages where most of your money is going. Is it going to streaming? Is it going to food? Then you can start trimming down those areas so you can start saving some of that money. Which takes us on to number 4. Not having an emergency fund. See, I'm not a huge fan of saving. I think you should invest instead. What I do think you should do is save enough to have an emergency fund. An emergency fund usually is about 6 months of income. That way, if anything happens, you get fired or the worst thing in the world can happen, you at least know you have 6 months of income that you can cover your base expenses. That you should always have to decide and you should never touch. If you don't have an emergency fund, now is the time to start. That way as you get older, that risks start to increase, you have something that you can always fall back on. Number 5, you buy to impress others. This is not the Gen Z. This is the gen of finessing. See, this is the age of finessing. This is the age where you're trying to make other people think that you're way better off than you really are. Which leads most young men to go and spend on unnecessary things or overpay for things just because they're overly hyped. My guy, if you're not buying something because you genuinely like it, or you're not paying retail for it, you're wasting your money. And if you don't stop that habit now, it could be crippling the older you get. Number 6, not starting a retirement account as soon as possible. See, I have been putting around anywhere from 5 to 6 grand every year into an IRA since I was 18. As soon as I was 18, I opened my own IRA. The cool part is that when I retire, which I believe the retirement age is like 60, when I retire, I would have only invested about $30,000 or $300,000, yet my retirement account is going to be close to $2 million just because of that compound interest. And the longer you can let that compound interest grow and breathe, the more you're going to have at the end, which is why starting earlier is better. Not to mention that money at the end of the year or at the end of my retirement, that's tax-free. Not to mention that IRAs are also tax deductible and you can claim them every year. Boys, it's literally free money. And finally, number 7, not building your credit. I know 23, 24-year-olds that don't have a credit card. Like they have no credit. You need to understand that your credit score is important. Today, this is what you use to get those big loans, whether you want a car or a home or an apartment. They're going to be looking at your credit score. And if you're not building it, I tried to get a credit card as soon as I was 18, I applied for my first credit card to try to receive it and start building that credit score. See, now I have a healthy credit score and I'm still pretty young. I'm 26 and I have a better credit score than most older people just because I started early building mine. You need to do the same because it's going to give you that purchasing power you need when you start making bigger decisions. And that's basically it for this week's video, guys. Those are 7 mistakes or financial mistakes most young guys make in their 20s I want you to avoid. That's it for me today. See you next time.